So to me, I think that willpower has a wee bit of a bad rap because I talk to people who, oh, I have no willpower because I can't overcome this habit, or I can't stop overeating sugar because I have no willpower. So my
Actually does have a negative spin to it when I think about as you started talking, I'm like, it does.
yeah,
It has, oh, your willpower. If you got no willpower, you're not going to amount to anything.
yeah,
You know,
then
it's
you're
that,
weak. Then you're weak and you're
yeah,
flawed and there's something wrong with you, or there's something you got to fix.
there's something wrong with you. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I really would encourage people to start feeling that willpower comes from within. You will, it's your will, and it's an
Oh,
empowering, right? It's
I never even broke the word up until now.
Debz is a stressologist. She will stretch your mindset to think bigger than you've ever thought before, with follow-through techniques that are realistic and achievable to blow any fear out of your mind. Moira is a mindset cultivator. She will help you align your personal trinity of self-trust, inner awareness, and self-confidence so that you discover and share your unique gifts and purpose. Together, their goal with these conversations is to share how our inclinations do not always work in our best interest, and to provide the knowledge to leverage the gifts that already exist within each one of us. Their desire is to help you learn how to access the habits and behaviors that will lead to positive change and your best quality of life. Welcome to your deliciously motivated mindset.
Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome to our deliciously motivated mindset conversations.
podcast
Yeah.
conversations.
Yeah, podcasts, conversations, chin wags. And our topic today is tips to redefine willpower.
Bum, bum, bum.
I know this is woo-hoo-hoo. It's a goodie. It's a goodie.
Yes, it's a goodie.
It's going to be a tangent. It's going to be a tangent. So, welcome listeners to our podcast. If you've been here before, thank you for coming back. We appreciate that for sure. And for sharing it, because we know you're all sharing it. If you're coming back, you're definitely talking about us and you're sharing it. So I'm going to thank you for that.
Definitely.
And for those who are new, welcome. Thanks for joining, and thanks for whoever introduced you. Or if you've just found us randomly, thanks for doing your Google and how you found us. So I'm Debz, and this is Moira.
Hello.
And we are going to share our favorite tips to redefine our willpower. Now, one of the things we do is at the start of every podcast, our conversation, is we define our PEMS. And our PEMS is our physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual, of where we're sitting physically, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. And it's just a number.
Yep.
You're literally just writing a number. And that number is a 10 if you're absolutely, favorite word, discombobulated.
Yes.
The right state is a 10. And the closer you are to a 0 is when 0 is 0. We label 0 for Zen. When
Yep.
you're in that, oh, this is a lovely space. That's your 0 for Zen. And wherever you are, our intention is to take you closer, if not to the 0 today. So we check in with our PEMS now. We check in at the middle point, and we also check in at the very end. And it just gives you an understanding of who you are and pretty much what's going on around you, because you're like, I haven't eaten, I haven't had much sleep, or whatever it is, or I've just, I want to listen to this long podcast. I've only got 5 minutes, and, am I going to get anything like that internal chatter? So let us know what number you're at. And Moira and I are just going to tell you this. What are you?
I'm a 2. What are you?
I guess I'm probably a 2. I haven't really thought about it. As I start talking, I'm like, oh no, now I've got to think about where I'm at. I was that 2 because it feels, when you said 2, my body went, yeah, that's you. So it felt right. So I'm a 2 as well. 2, 2.
There you go.
2, 2.
2, 2.
Us 2. Yeah, 2, 2. So make a note of where you are, people. And with that note, you're also going to grab a note-taking device and get ready, because we're going to hit you with our tips to redefine willpower. I'm going to ask Moira to kick this one off. Like, what? Kick this one off. What's your tip to redefine willpower? As I look at the dictionary meaning, and I'm not going there.
So to me, I think that willpower has a wee bit of a bad rap because I talk to people who, oh, I have no willpower because I can't overcome this habit, or I can't stop overeating sugar because I have no willpower. So my
Actually does have a negative spin to it when I think about, as you started talking, like it does, it has, oh, your willpower. If you got no willpower, you're not going to amount to anything.
Yeah, then
so
you're weak. Then you're weak and you're flawed and there's something wrong with you, or there's something you got to fix.
there's something wrong with you.
Yeah. So I really would encourage people to start feeling that willpower comes from within. You will, it's your will, and it's an empowering, right?
I never even broke the word up until now.
My will. But you see, we all have inner power. And so rather than beating yourself up because you're having an issue, maybe you're having an issue releasing an unhealthy habit or taking on a healthy habit. And I think we all go through nuances of this, right? But then look at what can be done. How can you tap into your will? Because you do have will. We all do. We have free will, right? That's what we get to choose this or this, vanilla or chocolate. Oh, maybe that's not the best example. I just said about giving up sugar. Oh, are you going to have chocolate or vanilla?
I can give up chocolate because chocolate's not my thing. I'm a savory girl.
You like
I'm
salty.
a potato chips and that sort of, those things. Or crisps. I think you call them crisps overseas. Yeah.
Well, in Canada and US, we call them chips. In the UK, it's crisps.
That's right, because I lived in the UK and I'd say chips and they go, what?
Anyway,
going on, I can easily have willpower to give up sugar because it's not
a thing. Yeah.
So, well, I guess that's the other thing is if it's not your jam, like you can easily give it up if it's really, really, really important to you. Okay, I'll let you carry on with your tip. Sorry.
But my tip is to redefine it, to remember that you have free will, you have the choice. And so rather than beat yourself up for not having the tenacity or the push or the edge, like so sugar is my thing. I like sugar. So then I release that propensity with loving kindness, not with an iron will. So redefining willpower is about an invitation to come in to commit to yourself that you matter. And so therefore you are going to do some mundane things because you matter, but you're also going to acknowledge what is it you need. Like if you talk about, let's keep following this thing about sugar. So we'll just dub in salt for you.
No, do sugar. It's easy. I don't even have to listen.
But what if you have an issue and you start saying, oh, I have no willpower? Actually, truth be told, I have very, very high level of willpower. People have often said that to me in my life, is I have a very high level of willpower. But it's actually because I have this very strong sense of if I don't do something then that I know is healthy for me, then I'm saying I don't matter. So rather than say, oh, I'm going down this unhealthy path because I have no willpower. No, it's because you haven't dialogued with yourself enough and you haven't unpacked what the why is for what you're doing. So what I'm saying about the sugar,
why behind the why, behind the why type thing.
Yes, but I'm not saying why did I do this? That's not because I don't like people doing that. That takes you too negative. But it's like, what's the meaning? So with that example I was saying about sugar, oftentimes people who have a propensity to overdo sugar. They're looking for sweetness. They're looking for love. They're looking for something that feels like a treat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That they can hold on to, and it feels nurturing, and it is that whole.
Yes. And so therefore you can actually re-engage this sense of, willpower. I'm going to say willpower, but it's actually like commitment to self to follow it through when you figure out, oh, I'm craving sugar because I want some sweetness, I want some love, I want a treat. So then you can go and give those to yourself energetically or non-food related. That actually helps reignite your commitment to saying, hey, I want to be in a healthy body. Does that make sense?
It does. And I know I talk about seen, heard, and acknowledged, but I'm just going to go to the word acknowledge right now, because the moment you acknowledge that there's something in there,
Yeah.
then you've already started the healing process, or whatever you want to label it. The moment you can actually go, oh, I actually, and look, you can say there's no right or wrong. Like, I have a problem with sugar. You can say that, but what you're doing is acknowledging it. You're not going, oh, I have a problem with sugar, and then there's this whole marathon of stories that come after that. You're just going, oh, I like to eat a lot of sugar, and it affects my body. Like, just acknowledging that allows so if you're a 10, we did our PEMS at the start. If you're a 10 in the PEMS and you're like, oh, sugar, and then just going, you know what? I actually have a problem with sugar, or I notice that I eat a lot of sugar when I'm in this mood, or I notice when, I want some love and affection, I eat more sugar, whatever it is. But the moment you can acknowledge and see that, so it is seen. Yeah, seen.
It is seen. Yeah, it is seen.
But the moment you can acknowledge it, you just go, oh, I saw it and I can acknowledge it. Okay, great. Now I can deal with it, or not. But the moment you can acknowledge it, the whole crazy number of 10, when we're sitting in that discombobulated state, that 10 is actually shifted towards an 8 already, because you've seen it and you've acknowledged it.
I love that, because you know what I just wrote? I was a wee note as a side note to what you just said, is because once you've seen it, right? You've heard it, right? Because it's saying, hey, feed me. Give me sugar. Get the
don't want to
bar.
hear it. I can see it. I just don't want to hear it. Yeah. Or when other people say it to you, you've got a problem with sugar. No, I can see it, but I don't want you telling me. No, and I've got my hands up like I can't see. Yeah. Yeah.
But you see, follow that. Once we've seen it, heard it, acknowledged it, we've actually just stepped back into reclaiming our power, which goes back into willpower.
Yeah, I didn't even. Nice linking there, Moira.
I thought so. So that's what I'm saying, is it's now, because when we accept or acknowledge, it's like, yep, and I have a sweet tooth. I come by it honestly. My father was a professional baker, and sharing and showing love in my family of origin as a child, it came in cookies and cakes. So I know that that's there for me. And so even to myself, if I want a treat, then it's going to be a chocolate chip cookie or something. But and I'm not going to pretend I don't, but I'm going to take the power and the ownership. So maybe I need to say, oh, okay, I need to do more loving kindness to myself, for myself. And then like magic, and that's actually perhaps why I have lots of willpower, is because I know that there are multiple ways of meeting our needs, our emotional and mental needs. So it's like we all know what a healthy diet looks like, what good habits look like and feel like, right? But sometimes we can get so stressed or caught off guard that we give away our power, and so then allowing something else to have power over us, as opposed to coming back into.
Yeah, and you may not even know you're giving away your power until something happens, and then you're left with, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Like, and then that goes back to that same thing, seen, heard, and acknowledged.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know I gave it away, and why am I so frustrated, or what's really going on? And then you're like, oh, now I'm back to that. I can see it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
I love that you wrote, and that's actually a tip, loving and kindness, and I'm going to put, I'll put to our level. to the level you're able to manage today, is having that beautiful loving and kindness, you know, respecting yourself, honoring what's going on around you, and know that, I guess the word trust comes in here.
Definitely.
You know, knowing that, so maybe trust is another tip, but knowing that you can get through to everything. But loving and kindness at our level. Now, your level, if you're at a 10, you know, when we go back to that PEMS, if you're a 10, your level is going to be different to where you are when I'm a 2.
Definitely.
So, yeah.
But then that thing of trust, you know, if you realize, you know, I'm going through a real stressful time right now, and oh gosh, look, I just ate a whole nother bag of cookies.
Yeah.
I don't, by the way.
Your
But
nose just blew, people.
no, it didn't. But it's that coming back to, okay, so be it. This is where I'm at, and I
Yeah.
can get through this. I think that something that would help redefine willpower is if we get too caught off guard by our own crazy making stories of like, oh my gosh, if I don't get a handle on this, then, and then we start getting anxious because we start to try and predict the future of like, oh my gosh, if I don't overcome this unhealthy habit or this pattern, then, and we start making up horror stories on ourselves, right? So if we can just trust, I've got this, put your hand on your heart, I've got this, I can do this. I can take the smallest, tiniest step forward. And the beauty of just staying present, and again, I'm going to tell you always, put your hand on your heart and see, what can I do? And maybe all you can do is write down a wee commitment to yourself, or a little intention of, I'm going to release this propensity or this habit. Maybe that's all you can do. But the really awesome thing about doing the tiny baby steps is that they start to take on an energy of their own. And
Yeah.
it's like, then willpower starts to come in, because you start going, oh, that was way easier than I thought. Oh, saying no to that all you can eat buffet was really easy, because you set yourself up for that, right? And so that's the thing, is that never ever get into an all or nothing thing. I think that that's part of that getting willpower having a bad rap, is like, I have to overcome this whole thing and land there in one step. And it's actually not true.
I think hand on heart is wise to have as a separate, like the trust, yes, but hand on heart and is definitely entangled in that trust, but also in what can I do to manage.
Absolutely.
So the hand on heart actually goes to 2 tips, into that trust, and then what can I do to manage. And it's easy. Like, it's an easy one that you can do in public without anyone knowing what's going on in your, like, for me, I don't want to lose my rag outside the house. If I'm going to lose my rag, I'd rather lose it and deal with it in my own internal, you know, my own safe space. And I don't want to be losing it driving or in the supermarket or anything. But hand on heart allows you to just go, okay, what can I do to manage? It just it's like a grounding, really.
It's like a grounding, but it actually lands you into the present moment. And like, I love what you just said about hand on heart. Maybe that's the baby step. That's all you can do.
And that's perfect, because you know what? You're respecting yourself and doing something.
Yes.
Instead of going, oh, I haven't got time to deal with that. No, it's too hard. Hand on heart is, you got no time to do that, you know, unless you're driving and you've only got one hand, you know, then it's a little bit difficult. But you can do it anywhere, anytime.
Absolutely. You know, another tip that I was just thinking of, and I've talked about this on previous episodes, is that I have this wee technique to help people break an addiction. Actually, I worked with somebody who had an addiction to chips. Oh, maybe you need to know this.
Nope.
No, you don't have an addiction to chips.
I think about, they call me from the pantry. I can hear them. Now we've had to move them to the laundry because I can't hear the laundry in the living room, but I can still know they're calling me.
I know, don't you hate that? I have chocolates that do that too. They call me.
I can hear them. I'm like, oh, my Eden is going, what about me?
Yes, there's 4 of us here.
Yeah, that's it.
But this tip is to, let's say that you had made a commitment to yourself that you were going to reduce how much, whatever your weak spot is, whether it's sugary things or salty things, and you know that you want to reduce it or eliminate it even sometimes. What I invite, if you find that you get into that loop of I have no willpower, I can't overcome this. It's bigger than me kind of thinking.
Yeah.
What I invite you to do is to step into this acceptance and this awareness that you are always at choice. This
Yeah.
helps you with that willpower. So if, let's say you said, okay, I'm not going to eat my chips or eat that chocolate. And then something happens, something chaotic happened. You have an argument with a client or an argument with your spouse, or the dog throws up on the carpet or something like that that stresses you out. And before you know it, that's it. That's it. I've had the chocolate bar or the crisps or chips, depending on which part of the world you're from.
What country you're in. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Say it out loud. As soon as you become consciously aware of that's what you're doing, say out loud in that moment, I'm choosing this.
Yeah.
Saying it out loud is really, really important because it brings it from your subconscious to your conscious of I still am choosing. And so
It's accountability, isn't it? That's
it
that whole.
is. It's holding yourself accountable for your actions and your decisions. Now, saying I'm choosing this is not allowed. You're not allowed to then go into beating yourself up. The intention here is to do a wee bit of a pattern interrupt to go, oh, hey, wait a minute. I was committed to being healthier or to cleaning up my diet and not using this as a vehicle or a pattern or a plan to deal with this kind of chaos or discombobulation, right? So just saying that out loud, I'm choosing this. You can maybe finish the bag of chips or the chocolate or whatever it was. I'm choosing this. But what happens is that you can then start easing towards, and you're doing it because you choose to, not because you have to, or because you're going to punish yourself to it, or you're going to just white knuckle it, because you're actually not going to create permanent change if you do it that way. And that's what I'm saying about the bad rap of willpower. It's like, no, it's got to come from your heart still.
Even if you don't see yourself choosing to do it, the moment you say I'm choosing this, it's literally your body hears that.
Yeah.
So even if your mind goes, BS, this is crock, this is whatever, but with the moment you say it, your body responds like it's real. So even if you don't think it's real, I'm choosing this, your body will respond like it's real because you have that certainty. I'm choosing this.
Yeah.
I'm choosing my actions. I'm choosing my words. I'm choosing my whatever.
Yeah. And so, but the thing is that to bring an unconscious pattern to the conscious to go, right, I'm choosing this. So if this isn't in alignment with the healthy version of what I'm wanting in reality, then I can unpack, I can undo, I can lovingly say, okay, thank you, but I'm going to put the bag down now. Right? And then the more we do it, the easier it becomes. I actually did work with a client who seriously was addicted to chips. And it took 2 weeks and she never touched chips again. Well, I think actually I spoke to her not so long ago, and I think she occasionally has one of those little mini bags as a wee treat just once in a blue moon. But I mean, she used to go and buy the huge, huge big bags and eat like 4 or 5 of them.
Yeah, well, when I was pregnant, my midwife says, what's your cravings? I said, well, I've always been a chip person. And she said, get the tiny, tiny bags. She said, get the tiny, because otherwise you'll just give her a whole lot. She said, and it's enough. It's just enough.
Yeah.
And I think that's that thing is, and I'm going to say, know your limits.
Yes. Yeah, that's a really good one.
Because when I say know your limits, I'm saying, no, if there's people, if you don't want to drink and you're going to a party where people are heavy drinkers, like, know your limits. Do you want to have a drink with them? Do you want to have 1? Do you want to have 10? Do you want to have 20? Do you want to not remember the night? Do you just want to go and not drink at all? And that's okay. But just but just know, like just know you, but also be aware of your PEMs, because there's some, like, so I'm not a drinker anymore, but I know from past experience that if I'm high as a kite on life
Mm-hmm.
and I drink, I just get louder and my loose lips have no filter. There's that one. If I'm sad, I become angry. I become angry with people if I'm drinking. So there's little things that come up. Now, I'm not saying if I'm sad and I drink, I get really angry with everyone. I'm just saying I'm aware of them. So I just choose not to deal with all those emotions at that, because I can't regulate myself. If I'm drinking, when I say I can't regulate myself, I'm just aware, and I'll either choose or not. Willpower, that willpower, will I go forward, will I not? And everything's that choice. But when you're aware of it, you can just go, okay, this is
what I'm choosing.
Yes, exactly. And so being aware of that, but also knowing your PEMs. If you're going to drink, be aware of your PEMs, your physical, emotional, mental, spiritual. If you're going to go out and see somebody, be aware of your physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual. Just awareness, I think, is the big one here.
Very much so. Awareness is very important. And actually, it's really funny you're saying about drinking, because I do. I definitely don't drink like I did when I was in my younger years. But
yeah.
but the thing is that it takes the filters off. I find that it takes filters off. But it's really funny. People know me that I have a drink, I just become really cuddly and have a good sense of humor. But I already do. Yeah. I just want to cuddle everybody.
Oh, that's cute. Oh, that's cute. Well, well, yeah. Well, I mean, I remember when I was in Europe, I lived in Europe, and there was a lot of things that came my way. And yes, I'm choosing my words strategically, people. A lot of things came my way, and my willpower was, do I want to do this right now? Like, and I guess that goes back to that standard saying that we pretty much bring into everything. Is it good for me? Is it good for others? And do I want to?
Yeah.
Like, so I could pick and choose, I think, that whole thing. But my thing is it important? And I think that knowing, is this important, is important to know. And I just think, so I got my partner a teddy bear when we first got together, and it says, I love you more than chocolate. Now, my partner was very emotional because she loves chocolate. So she was like, wow, you love me more than chocolate. I'm like, chocolates actually doesn't mean much to me. If I had to put I love you more than potato chips, I'd probably be a little bit concerned. Like, I just would probably lie there. And she was just like, what? So you don't? And it opened up this whole discussion. So chocolate isn't important to me,
Right.
but potato chips. So I could say to someone, I love you more than chocolate. And they'll go, oh, if chocolate's important to them.
Right.
But for me, it wasn't important. It was just a nice little gesture. I was like, yeah, I'll give her that. She'll be fine. But if it said,
oops.
yeah, but, and we know that, but if it said, I love you more than potato chips, back then, I would question that. So is it important? Your willpower is based on, is it important to you?
Mm-hmm.
Does that?
I like that. Is it important to you? Because it's easy, like you just said, that was a really good example. It's like, if it's not, because that wasn't coming from the heart, really.
It was
like, just give this.
I was like, oh, she'll like that. That's cute. That's a cute little teddy bear. I love you more than chocolate. Yeah, sure. Like, and I didn't realize how much of a chocolate addiction she had. So it really hit her with oh my God, she loves chocolate. And me, the person who didn't have a filter, wasn't drinking, and just said, oh no, that means nothing, because chocolate's not a big thing for me. But if it was potato chips, I'd have to question it. So that whole infatuation of her going, oh, she loves me more than chocolate, this is so meaningful. I'm like, oh no. And I explained it, not even thinking.
I mean, gosh, talk about going from one end of the spectrum smacking down to the bottom.
It was in a relationship with me. Clearly my partner's still in there, but that was it, because chocolate wasn't important to me. So I could say that with ease. If it was.
A quick wee message before we get back to this episode. You can get access to a special gift Moira and Debz have put together for you. Go to deliciouslymotivatedmindset.com/gift. When you sign up, you'll receive instant access to an inner peace kit and the 30 Days of Wisdom program, both of which is intended to help you feel deliciously motivated right away. Go to deliciouslymotivatedmindset.com/gift.
Potato chips, my willpower would be torn because potato chips are more. And look, I mean, I don't lie in bed and think about my potato chips all day and every day. I want to do that. And we're joking about it at a level, but there's still a serious level behind it.
I really like that you've brought in this part to this conversation is about this. Is it important to you? Because that actually ties back to trust. We've already talked. Yeah, we did bring trust into this conversation, just making sure. But is this important to you? So the example I want to share is after COVID and coming through menopause and life and stuff.
The other end, yeah.
I put on a lot of weight. It felt like it would just, no matter what I did, it was coming on. And it was really funny because when I had conversations with women my age and friends, it was like, oh, Moira, you just have to, this is it. This is, after you come through menopause, you can't take weight off. And
I've heard that.
Yeah, I heard this story over and over and over again. But internally, for me, is this important to me? Is I actually always knew and trusted that it wasn't a thing if I had to increase my willpower, because I already told you I have very strong willpower, but I had to find my rhythm. I had to find my best plan of action.
And the timing, it's a timing thing too.
Absolutely, 100%.
I had to get it in my head, but also I had to time it that it feels right. Yeah.
So since I went, and I'm sharing this because since at the point where I decided, okay, now I'm ready to actually start taking action, and I'm not going to listen to anybody else's opinion or plan or way to do it. I'm just going to do it my way. And since then, I actually have lost 35 pounds. I actually don't know what is 35 pounds in kilos? I'll have to work that out to translate it for our Deb over here.
Pounds to kgs. It'll be a shite load, I know that.
It's
Holy
quite
moly.
It's quite a bit.
So that's 15.87 so kilograms. So that's a lot. And that, say 6.6 is a stone. So you lost 2.5 stone.
There you go.
If we're talking age, because I'm above 50, I'm a stone person. I struggle with the kgs. I have to do that. Then Moira brings in blooming pounds. So that's 2.5 stone, nearly 16 kgs.
Yeah,
35.
35
That's a shite load. So all those people, other people's opinions are so enhancing and deflating.
Absolutely.
That's your opinion.
That's your opinion. That's
the amount of people who have told, and you would have had that because I'm the same. Oh, you're getting up to menopause. Wait till you have menopause. Wait till you're not going to, you need to start getting your body in shape now. I'm like, yeah, righto. Sometimes I'm more like, wait till it hits and then I'll deal with it. Like, I trust that I can deal with it. The same thing you had. I trust when the time's right and
then
it
I'll do
feels
it.
right. Not just in my head, but my physical body feels right, ready for it. I'm going to do this.
And the fun thing about this was it has been fun. I've actually enjoyed it, and I still have my treats. I still have my chocolate cookies when I want them once a while.
I would say the thing is you don't, I mean, in anything, any addiction, or any of that, don't deprive yourself until it feels right. And I think, how to define willpower.
Find your why. Find your, connect with your truth, your inner truth, right?
Yeah. It's your timing, not,
Yeah.
Your way. Yeah, other people's opinions can have, I mean, I remember when I was pregnant, people were going, oh, when you wait till you have birth. I'm like, I've just found out I'm pregnant. Give me a minute. Like, I haven't even learned much about that. I was young, and people were like, oh, let me give you an opinion on this and this. And I'm like, yeah, no, I'm definitely not doing that. I'm definitely not going to go in and have this. And I'm not, because other people's opinions, and they just sometimes people just want to share their story. Yeah. Goes to our podcast last week. Yeah, I don't need to share. I don't need to take your energy on. Thanks very much. Like, no. But timing.
So other people's opinions is an interesting one here, because oftentimes,
You have a saying.
what's that?
You have a saying. Other people's opinions
Are none of your business.
That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Other people's opinions are none of my business.
Yeah.
Other people's because, and this is the add-on to that, is to understand that everybody's going to have an opinion. So we can't bend ourselves out of shape, or, disassociate ourselves with our own truth and our own authenticity because, oh my God, what would that person think or say about this? But you know what? The other thing that, and it makes me smile, is a client that you were talking about, the other people's opinion when you're pregnant. So I was talking to a client about this, and this is a long time ago, that she had twins. And so she would have all these people coming to tell her about the pros and cons and the advice. And she would stop and say, so you had twins?
Oh, I'd love to.
It was like the best way, because somebody, I know how to, I have all this advice to, so you had twins too, did you?
Oh, how old are your twins? Oh, I never had them. Oh, do you know people who have twins? No, never. I read it on
Exactly.
read it on a Facebook reel. I read it. Oh, right. Okay. Yeah.
But that's the thing, right? Is that other people's, this is what I was kind of getting into, is that oftentimes people are doing it because they care and they want to help you and they feel like they've got something to add, but they don't. It's like it's I love that example of it, is like, no, you can't give me advice because you don't have the experience that's on par with what I'm going through.
Yeah.
And truth be told, nobody really does. Right. So back to this thing about women telling me, oh, Mari, you're not going to take that weight off because you've just come through menopause. So it's just, yeah, you got to put up with it. Like, yeah, no.
I don't think so. Yeah, and even if you're a medical person, let's just see. Let me just feel this one out. Let me just do my thing. I think the thing, when I think about tips to redefine willpower, and my favorite word from 2020, and it wasn't COVID.
Pivot.
Called pivot.
Pivot.
And I think that's a really important one. I believe that's a really important tips to redefine your willpower is pivot, be okay. And just know that what yesterday when you decided not to eat chocolate, and today there's other stuff going on, your PEMS or whatever, be okay. If you want to have chocolate, then have chocolate, have a little bit or have lots or whatever, but be okay with what you did yesterday may not be suitable to your world today.
Yeah. Yeah. So don't go into shaming yourself or, telling yourself that,
it's self-talk. Yeah. That's another tip on
that. It is actually.
Shame, no blame.
No shame. Actually, shame and guilt are the two things that will actually shatter any semblance of willpower that you may have, right?
Yeah.
Because it can actually immobilize you and then make you question if you even trust yourself, if you've got the capacity to move through something. So
I could easily do we could do a whole podcast on shame and guilt, because shame and guilt, and I'm going to say this to anybody, shame and guilt affects your income, affects the money you receive and the money you give out, and it also affects your physical body.
Yep, 100%.
And so there's shame and guilt. If you want to clear your money up, your money situation, and you want to clear your physical body up, well, I'm just going to say reach out to Deb and Moira.
Definitely. I was going to say that when we were saying about the shame and guilt, both of us have tools and techniques and mindsets to help you permanently overcome and release shame and guilt.
Now, did you hear the word, people? Permanently.
Yes.
Because it's done and you move on.
Yeah. Yeah. And then once it's then you can put your attention on what would you like to increase in your experience and get back on track with what feels good.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, lovelies. We're heading into the end of this awesome conversation. I love this conversation. Tips to redefine willpower. So I'm not sure if you said at the beginning to dear listeners, grab your note-taking device, pen, pencil. I don't think you did. But here we are. This is the
Here we
time to
are.
grab it.
Quick.
Because we are going to rattle through the tips, and there's always more things that come in as we go through these. So I'll kick us off here with the first one. Was I talked about willpower having a bit of a bad rap, that it's so important to have a look at what's driving or animating or instructing that bad habit or that propensity or that pattern. When we talked a lot about overeating sugar and chips, chocolate and chips.
You know, I'm going to have potato chips for breakfast after this now. Probably will. Probably end up going and having we've got Easter eggs, but those cream eggs, that's what'll get me. I'm not even a chocolate person. Anyway, going back to that. What were you saying, Moira? What were you saying?
So this is when I actually kind of broke that word apart. It is still your will, and you do have power. So where are you going to put your power? It's actually the other thing that came in. I don't know that we brought that word in. I just want to add to it is self-worth. Is you are worthy of your own dedication, of your own discipline. Discipline is another part of the willpower, is to be disciplined. And that's another word that I find people have a bad rap around. But I like to think of discipline as encouraging. If you break that word apart from the Latin root, it's the same as disciple. So to me, discipline could be you being a disciple of you and accessing your inner power. Do you see it? There's a beautiful dance there.
That's a lovely. Well, you actually said 3 words when you did that first tip way back, and it was a commitment to self.
Yes.
And I went, that feels right.
Yes.
That's that willpower is that commitment to myself.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which then jumps back to that very end one as being no shame and guilt. So when you're committed, you're in or you're not, and you can change your mind. But yeah, okay, right. Anyway, commitment to self. I love that.
That's the bookend of our tips.
Yeah.
And that's and
yeah. The one I had was actually started off with just acknowledge. The moment you can acknowledge it, it already shifts.
Right.
And so then, of course, my favorite one is seen, heard, and acknowledged. The moment you can see it, because you're not going to acknowledge it if you can't see it, but you actually have to see it and go, there it is, or not, oh no, there it is. It's just like, yeah, righto, there it is. Roll your eyes, whatever. Now I can see it.
Yep.
I can hear my words, and I can hear my physical, and I can hear my actions, like I can see them and I can hear them. And then I'm acknowledging that, yeah, okay, there's something definitely for me to work on or park and work on it later, like now or whenever. But seen, heard, and acknowledged is incredibly important when you look at your willpower, because it pulls you back to that.
Yep.
Just seeing, hearing, and acknowledging is big layers of having to heal this. If we say it's a problem, 100%. And I'm saying, yeah.
But that's the one. If you remember, I added on that when we see, hear, and acknowledge, that's us reclaiming our power.
Oh yeah, my next tip says now back to willpower.
Okay.
So, I put that as a whole new tip. Yep, and that's it. So it goes back to willpower.
Yes, this is willpower.
Yeah.
Awesome. So, is it whose turn is it? It's your turn, my turn.
I'm going to say this one. This is because I remember Moira saying, so I'm going to word it my way.
You do it.
Which is have loving and kindness to our level.
Mm-hmm.
And that loving and kindness to our level is knowing, and also again knowing our PEMs today to what they were yesterday or whatever. So just have loving and kindness to our level, and then there's that respect, that word that comes in that just goes, respect yourself.
Yeah.
Respect yourself for this.
Yeah, I love that. Absolutely. Well, the next one I have, and it's kind of leads on nicely from that, is trust. And trust comes up so often in our conversations too. And some of you may heard me say this before, is I believe trust is an inside job. So it is so important to trust you first. And so sometimes we can't see our way through something, like using willpower to overcome a bad habit, release a bad habit, or take on a new habit. But if we can get back into faith and trust within ourselves, hand on your heart, and remind yourself, I can get through this. I've got this. All is well in my world. Actually, that's one I often say to myself. All is well in my world.
Oh, yeah, and that's just such a cute wee saying that just, and it goes back to that word grounding again. I don't know why that's coming up. I've never talked about grounding any other time. Just grounds you, brings you back to that center, to that place.
Yeah.
And I know Moira talked about hand on heart with that, and with the trust, but hand on heart is actually literally a point on its own.
Yeah.
The power of the hand on the heart is just that, oh, okay, hand on heart. Like, even going back to the seen, heard, and acknowledged, I can see it, I can hear it, I can acknowledge it. If you put your hand on your heart, when you see it, you hear it, and you acknowledge it, it has a different feeling to it. It just has a different
vibe.
Thing yeah, totally. And the hand on heart, and I love that Moira also said with that hand on heart earlier, is what can I do to manage this? Like, it's simple. Actually, I've actually missed out a few words there, I think. What can I manage? I've got do and then and all around it, so I don't know what I was saying. But what can I do to manage this? Like, and when you have your hand on your heart, you think differently to finding a solution than you do when you're like, I'm frazzled. What can I do to manage this? Like, there's no way. And then that self-talk that we've got as our last tip just goes into crazy thinking.
Yes.
But what can I manage this?
And when we were talking about that hand on heart, we were saying that that's actually an action tip, because I talked at one point about taking the smallest baby steps, which actually starts to create momentum and increases your willpower. But maybe that action step is just put your hand on your heart and say, all is well in my world.
Yeah.
The next tip I have is where I talked about saying out loud, choose. If you do have a habit that tends to have a wee bit of power over you, like you get stressed and you just go, that's your knee-jerk reaction, it's your go-to thing of the bag of chips or the bag of chocolate chip cookies or something. Once you become consciously aware that, oh, there you go again, you're doing it, it's okay. But say out loud, I'm choosing this. And the more you do that, the more you start to bring into your own conscious awareness, yeah, I'm choosing to do this, but I can actually choose something else. I can choose to put the bag down. I can choose to say, okay, I acknowledge it. What do I need to bring some of that loving kindness in for me? Maybe it is just put my hand on my heart and breathe through what's going on. Tell myself the truth about what's going on. Well, I'm really stressed. I'm bothered. I'm discombobulated. I've got all these things on my to-do list and I don't know how I'm going to get through them. Whatever that is, and then reach out for help as best you can too, right?
And that's going back to the aims and, being accountable to yourself again. Yeah.
Definitely.
Yes.
It's a beautiful way to cure yourself of addiction, by the way, if that is an issue for you.
Yeah, definitely. Reach out to us both, because we both do an addiction process.
Yes, we do.
Both results. Yeah. The next tip I had is it important?
Yes.
When my partner listens to this podcast, she's going to go, what, Deborah, did you tell that story about the the teddy bear? But is it important? And that's where I shared that I bought a teddy bear for my partner when I was in a new relationship. It said, I love you more than chocolate. And I was like, yeah, well, I'm not really into chocolate, so it means nothing. Well, it doesn't mean nothing. It just doesn't mean like it impacted her. But for me, is it important? You got to, this willpower, is it important for you? Is it important for others? Like what is this whole thing? Is this your importance?
Yeah.
Because if it's not, your willpower is going to be very different.
Yep. Totally get it. Totally get it. And that actually leads me to the next one, was about knowing your limits. So that's what we talked about, knowing your limits, having an awareness. We both talked about how we are if we're drinking or not.
Moira and I are going to get on.
I'll just cuddle you.
Next, and then we're gonna do a podcast. And Moira's just gonna sit there and cuddle herself as rock in the corner as Deborah just gives an unfiltered version of all her thoughts.
Oh dear, that might be quite of a conflict. Because I'll just tell you to come over and I'll hug it out. It's all good.
I think we'll just do that in person. I'll just go visit Moira. Just do that. We'll just do a live podcast of me drinking, letting it all out. Yeah,
there you go.
My willpower will be done. Yeah. But the one I had here was is other people's opinions and none of my business.
Yeah. It just release the importance that they have over you. Yeah.
I love that, because it just, when you know that, like, it's none of my business. You just go, you know what, that's them. And that's that, don't take things personally. The 4 agreements again, back to that again. Like, don't take it personally that they've got an opinion on you, because they've got their own stuff. Let them have their stuff. You just stick in your lane.
Yep. Yeah. Remind yourself, it's not about me. Their opinions, not about me. The next one I have is Deb's favorite word from 2020 is pivot. So pivot being, be okay. Be okay with the choice you made yesterday. Be okay with the choice you made earlier today. And know that it's all in flow. Everything's transpiring the best way. And you at any point can pivot and say, yep, I'm going to change the trajectory. I'm going to change in the verbiage in my head. I'm going to change the viewpoint. A wee bit like what I shared about my releasing weight, letting go of weight is I did a pivot, and I trusted that when it was important to me, it always was, but I also trusted myself that I would hit the point of saying, okay, now it's time. Now I'm ready. Roll the sleeves up, and
because you can't. And that's the thing. We can motivate you to do stuff, but literally we're forcing you to do it. And so to me, the difference between motivation and inspiration is inspiration comes from within, and you feel more inspired to do it. And it's like a big I. And I say an I, you know, like it right.
The capital I.
Capital I. And that's you. And when I'm inspired, my willpower is for me, not anyone else. But if I'm motivated, if I have to motivate Moira to do these podcasts, I'm literally got my hand in my back, pushing her along, going, got to do this, and you come on,
what
stop.
An energy drain.
And I tell you what, I'm going to get so frustrated that it's going to take on my whole energy, and until you slap yourself in the face and you pivot. Like, not that I'm encouraging you to do that, but the difference between motivation and inspiration, and that pivot means, you know what? Doesn't inspire me anymore. I feel like I'm getting motivated. So what can I do to change that or not? Like it's the inspiration between motivation and that. I do get frustrated when people go, oh, can you motivate me? And I'm like, no, I can inspire you, and you can find that, because I'm not going to tell you need to get up every day and do this. That's not my jam, and it's never going to land. And your willpower is going to be, did you tell me what to do?
Yeah.
Like, if you tell me to get up every day at 6 o'clock, I'm going to go, no, I'm going to get up at 3 minutes past 6. Some days I'm going to get up at 3:30.
3 minutes before.
Yeah. Don't tell me what to do. It's like the dogs, they come up.
Because I'm the boss of me.
That's right. The dogs come up to you at 1 minute to 6 and they start pouring you. They're like, guess what? 1 minute to go, mum, and we're getting food. Like, they literally, at that 1 minute to 6, they come, they hunt you down, and they let you know.
Guess what time it is?
Yep. The last one, is it my turn or your turn? The last.
No, it says your turn. Yeah.
The last. This is my turn or your turn today. Is And that self-talk is incredibly important for all the things we said today about willpower, is our self-talk. So none of the shame and guilt stuff, like this internal dialogue will spiral you into a place where you'll feel you need to get motivated to do stuff.
Yes,
So
because that's what we said was shame and guilt is the two things that will completely break apart any semblance of willpower that you might have.
They will derail you that quickly as planes going down the hill. And we mentioned that if you are lacking in money, or you have money blocks, or you have money trouble, or any of the stuff, this is associated, and I'm guaranteeing this is associated to a shame and guilt in your past. If you have physical body symptoms going on, this is associated with shame and guilt in your past. And I'm saying this because I'm very certain on this. We all have shame and guilt. Everyone has shame and guilt. You can't get through to this point in our life without shame and guilt. But the moment you can see that, you can work through that. And that's where we talked about us being exceptional at what we do. I'm sure we did.
Yes, we did.
If not, I'm just going to reiterate. Moira and I are bloody good at what we do. We do it. We have different styles. We have different techniques. We get a result. We both get a result to full completion that sits in your heart at the end of it. So if you have shame and guilt, please reach out. Don't go, oh, Moira's going to judge me. Deborah's going to judge me. Like, would you rather you having a thought of judging and sitting in that situation, or would you rather get shite done? Would you rather move this stuff? Because I can tell you now, that will definitely immobilize you. We are here. We're skilled at what we do. Reach out to us.
Absolutely. And my clients, if any of my clients are listening, they know that I am completely non-judgmental. I accept you exactly as you are. And I think that's such an important piece to unpacking the release of shame and guilt.
Yeah.
But that beautifully brings us to the end of this conversation on tips to redefine willpower. So, dear listeners, we trust that this has helped you, inspire you to really look at yourself, because all change starts within. And are you following what lights you up? Are you following the wisdom of your heart? And these are questions that are intended to prompt you to assess, where are you? Are you following your dreams? Are you following your bliss? And if there's any, detours or missteps, it's okay. That's okay too. But let us know if you need some more support or ideas, or just unpacking, creating more willpower for you, because it's possible. So at the beginning, we did our check-in, our PEMS check-in, and we encourage you to check in at the halfway point. And now we're all going to check in. So listeners, we'd love to hear. Let us know, where were you? What was your number at the beginning? And now, Deb and I were both at 2. Where are you now, my dear?
0.
Yes, I knew that.
I feel really lovely after today. Like I feel like my heart is full after today's podcast.
Yeah, me too. This felt very nurturing to the heart. So listeners, we'd love to hear from you. What was your number at the beginning? Where are you now? And we'd also love to hear from you about, what was your favorite tip in here? What is your favorite tip, and what would you say is your definition of willpower? I think that's an important part too, that because we all dance and interpret things in our own special way. So we'd love to hear that. And then the last piece for you to do is to share this. Share this episode with your friends, with your family, with your colleagues, with people that you feel could do with a wee boost of mindful motivation to help you really accept where you are, who you are. Because the truth is, I believe we are all on target. We're in the right space, But sometimes our own thinking processes might have us think differently. So the intention with this conversation is to put that off to the side and re-engage with your sacredness that's always there. So this is Moira and Debz with our deliciously motivated mindset conversation, signing off for another episode. We'll be back again with you next week. Thank you so much, Internet. Thank you, listeners. And thank you, dear Deb. This has been awesome.
It's been lovely. Thank you, listeners. And yeah, thank you, Internet.
Yes.
And thanks, Moira, of course. Yeah.
Of course.
Thank you. Hear you on the next podcast.
Yes. Yeah. Thanks. Bye.
Bye.